Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Indian Scholar, your trusted space for raw, real, and relevant conversation about education, ambition, and the road less traveled. I am Kritin, your host. If you're a I'm talking about a university which is redefining the playbook on the Indian education system right from the heart of Bangalore. And let's be honest, we all grew up thinking about colleges and university means mugging up textbooks, chasing grades, and ending up in a job. But what if your education actually helped you in thinking, leading, and making a real impact? That's the question our guest here has spent his life answering.
The Indian Scholar, Global Education Stories.
Joining me today is a pioneer who's redefining the Indian education system from the inside out. Meet Professor P.G. Babu, Vice-Chancellor at Vidyashilp University, a man of calm intellect and bold ideas. He's been a professor at the University of Hamburg, IIM Ahmedabad, and Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research. His work even contributed to Nobel Peace Prize winning IPCC report on climate change. And not to mention, he has even helped shaping India's academic policies from behind the scenes. Welcome, Professor. We are thrilled to have you on our show. How have you been?
Fine.
I'm really excited to conduct this podcast with you, sir, and I really want students to know more about your opinion on the Indian education system.
Yeah, look forward to it.
To begin with, sir, what does it mean to truly prepare students for uncertainty, and how must higher education evolve to meet their needs?
When you said the uncertainty, often we seem to think of it as a negative concept. There are also positive side to it. Imagine a world which is fully certain. In such a world, you cannot have money at all. Like suppose if I know that the world is going to end the next minute, then I will not accept any money you will give me. And the backward induction, like you can show, that you will never accept money. So money cannot exist in such a world. And also imagine what it is for us to know when we are exactly going to die. Okay, when we are born, so we know that we are going to die, but we don't know the exact date. And that uncertainty is what I think is keeping us mentally at peace. So there are also these positive aspects to uncertainty which I want students, for example, at Vidyashilp University to think about. And of course, there is also this notion that uncertainty is in a way somewhat undefined. Risk, for example, in decision theory, we always say risk is quantifiable, but not uncertainty. Uncertainty is much more complicated than that. Think about concepts like climate change, or to pull out a wild story, imagine like a celestial bodies, whether it is going to hit the world or not. The probability of that happening is extremely low, but the damage which that event might cause, as we have seen in the recent pandemic episode, is like enormous. It's like totally nonlinear impact it has on the world and all of our lives. So that way, uncertainty is important to think about. You may want to think about different kind of tools. Like insurance is what I think normally we look for. We go and buy insurance instruments when we are faced with risk. But similar way, when you think about uncertainty, I would encourage the students to think about different instruments like a group insurance and so on and so forth. Also, you can think of uncertainty as the other side of information. More the uncertainty, less the information. So probably then you need to kind of explore different tracks of learning. One track learning may not be enough, even a double track learning may not be enough. You need to kind of be in a multidisciplinary, multidimensional, and also multitasking learning environment. And that's the kind of environment I think a place like Vidyashilp will give you.
That's a fresh perspective, sir. Like seeing uncertainty as a useful rather than a scary element. And I would like to add in one thing here, sir. As you know that the job markets are changing all over the world. How do you prepare the students for the jobs that don't even exist yet?
In terms of job market, I think what is important is the notion of the first principles thinking. So as the kind of world which I described to you and the world which we live now, this is a highly complicated nonlinear world, which is somewhat akin to what was happening during industrialization in around 18th century. So that's the kind of world where everything is turning upside down. So you have new technologies, you have AI and ML, you have all sorts of artificial intelligence driven tools available to you, chat GPTs and so on and so forth. So this, in such a world, like what will help you is your ability to think from first principles. There used to be a joke, which is directed against economists and also decision theorists, that let's say that you have lost a key in a dark field, and these are the decision theorists are the guys who are searching for it under a lamppost just because there is light there. I would turn this joke on and say that if I know nothing about the terrain, and if I can see the ground under the street lamp, at least that will give me an idea about the topography, where I am, and maybe I think that will give me a clue as to how I could search for my key. And that's, I think, the way I would think we need to train the students. First principles thinking, and also your ability to think critically, logically and analytically, and also the notions like lifelong learning, all those things. It is impossible for an university to, foresee all of it and prepare you accordingly. So if you are used to this first, you would be able to survive and float. So that's the idea.
Great idea, sir. As someone who shaped both policy and pedagogy, what gaps did you see in the Indian academia that Vidyashilp was
which kind of strikes you in whichever university, Indian university, business school in a university, will you ever have courage to walk into a mathematics department and take courses there? My answer would be no for a very long time. And even in the places, very few places in the country will allow you to go and take courses in another department. But even in those places, it will be for example, if I'm an economist, I will go and take a stochastic process course in, let's say, from electrical engineering department. But it will never be the case that the ideas from electrical engineering will be applied to an economics course, and that such a course you will get in an interdisciplinary course, say in signal processing and things like that. So that kind of a thing you will never get even in the best of the Indian institutions. That's one thing. The second thing which I think is very important is for you to kind of see the forest among the trees. What do I mean by that? If I am in let's say I'm in a place like Indian Institute of Science. So let's say I'm in a civil engineering PhD I'm pursuing there. So can I kind of see beyond my field and the applications and the ideas from other fields coming into it, say from neural networks in computer science or any other such ideas. So that I think is possible in very few places in India and also at a very few time points. The challenge which I think which we face and which we're trying to kind of correct in places like Vidyashilp is to get this kind of overview which you can get where you begin to see the what do I call the unity among the subject. Among diversity. So that I think the difficult part is to bring it down to the undergraduate curriculum. And that's what I think we are trying to do in places like Vidyashilp. That's the one important thing I would say. The third thing is the opportunities for Indian students to be in different foreign settings, in international settings. So that is a lot less. When I think about my German students, for example, so they spend their summer months in various countries like African countries, Asian countries, Latin American countries, and so on and so forth, and that gives them a very grounded exposure to a grounded reality of these countries. And so that is something to me, to my mind, I think like Indian students don't have as much exposure to this kind of a culture. Whenever it was possible to put these international students and Indian students in the same classroom, what I observed was that like the Indian students in no time could beat these the foreign students, even the best of the German students, like black and blue, like, you know. So I know like quite a few German graduate students used to come and tell me that like, look, like I'm beginning to get depressed. I thought like I am like this A student and here I am in C or C+. So that's a kind of a thing like, you know, they used to tell. And that is an opportunity which we need to kind of provide to the Indian students. This is not only develop the confidence levels and also the knowledge levels of our students, but also it will help in various policy for example, imagine that you're drafting a regional trade policy and you're bargaining with your South Asian country partners, and let's say that Indian team needs to have people who will give the information to the ones who are in the front who are actually going to do the bargain. So that, like, do we have that kind of subject expertise in the country, and interdisciplinary subject expertise? So that I think like is it's a lot less in a country like ours. So that's what we need to strengthen. We need to strengthen people and also centers, create centers which specialize in these kind of either African culture or African business practices. And I'm just giving you an example of Africa, but it could be any other country, Latin America, it could be China. So, you know, that expertise is what we need. And that is something we need to kind of inculcate and develop in our curriculum. So those are the kind of gaps which I think are important for us to cover up.
But, you know, sir, I would like to reflect on the first part of the question. And correct me if I am wrong. You mean to say that an economics student should be able to walk into tech or a policy class freely? Am I right, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Also because like in a subject like economics, the notion of big data started off in economics as early as started in computer science and also in medicine. Yeah. So those huge data sets in financial markets and so on and so forth. And so that's important. And that's the reason why, like in artificial intelligence ideas or the tech school ideas will be important in a subject like economics.
Correct.
And within economics, there is also this idea of an engineering approach to economics. Yeah. So which is somewhat different than the traditional way in which we look at it. Like that you can design markets where they didn't exist. Like for example, think about telecommunication auction markets. So they did not exist 10, 20, 30 years before. So those are new markets which were created. Yes. So you could design the market. That's like a kind of a revolutionary idea in social sciences.
So Vidyashilp's core curriculum is focused on logic, communication and reasoning. Feels more like leadership training and not just academics. What inspired this approach?
Vidyashilp, there I think like I will draw inspiration from the larger Vidyashilp family. It's not just the university, Vidyashilp Academy is like one of the top schools in Bangalore, and they have a big school system here. So Vidyashilp schools have kids like 9 years old who are like these tech wizards, you know, who have kind of created new apps and also marketing it through. And the father of the kid I heard that is actually doing the marketing and running the day-to-day things while the kid is going to the school still. So with that kind of you know, skill set. And kind of the business acumen, the university should do, you know, should draw inspiration from those kind of kids, And the university, as I told you earlier, so we focus on critical thinking.
Yes.
And the kind of logical and analytical reasoning which goes with it. See, as is, supposing like after the graduation, this is a 4-year honors graduation program we have. So after that, if somebody takes a job, so 10 years, 15 years, you may be in a team environment, or you may be doing things on your own. After that, you have to cross a line. Correct. And become like a leader. And to become a leader, you should have the ability to take risks. And you should also be open to lifelong learning.
Correct.
Through those first principle ideas which I told you about. So that's when I think like you produce the leaders. So those who are willing to take risk, and those who are invested in lifelong learning, and always at the frontier. So that's I think like what you need, and that's I think like those are the kind of attributes which we try and develop at Vidyashilp University.
That's so true, sir. And I'm also a firm believer that soft skills outlast tools for sure 100%. So interdisciplinary learning is often discussed but rarely implemented. How are you making it real at Vidyashilp?
Interdisciplinary learning into 2 levels. At the curriculum, I told you like what is difficult is the curriculum level development. How to integrate 2 different disciplines. For example, ask yourself and put yourself like, imagine that you are an evolutionary biologist. Then you are interested in peacock feather patterns. Why is that particular color pattern? Yeah. Okay. So now if you're curious about it, and then you are able to kind of go to electrical engineering department and take a signal processing course, and then use it to kind of marry it with this idea, the evolutionary biology idea, as to why peacocks have to kind of have this color pattern, and as a signal, right? So then I think you're combining ideas from 2 different subject domains. Okay. Right, electrical engineering on one side, and another side evolutionary biology. And in the same way, for example, Vidyashilp University, they do a lot of this kind of cross domain or cross subject domain analysis. One thing which is very famous here at the university is the computer science folks with their robos, and the law school people with the crime detection scene. Okay, so now how can I use these robots to kind of help me in detecting a crime? Okay. So in finding the evidence which a human eye cannot see. So that I think is a kind of a interdisciplinarity which is built in the curriculum. And to do that curriculum, you need faculty who should be able to do that. Correct. Who should not only be able to do that, who should be open to more than one idea. So say if I'm an economist, or if I'm a lawyer, I should also be open to ideas from computer science. So that I'm kind of fit more than one domain, right? And then I have the ability to talk to you. Correct. Across the disciplines and develop these kind of subjects or tools, ideas, whatever papers. So that is what is happening here. A very strong interdisciplinary research culture is developing. And the same is getting reflected in the curriculum which we teach. And so that I think is to me what is the most important thing in developing interdisciplinary research focus in universities like Vidyashilp.
Sir, as per an article on Mint, only 51% of Indian youth were employable in 2024, with BA and BCom grads ranking lowest. So rather than scrapping these courses, is Vidyashilp using interdisciplinary learning to bridge that gap?
Yeah, I think like that we do because I think what is also important in Vidyashilp University is what we call the university core. These are the liberal arts courses. The courses like written and analytical writing, communication, social justice. Many of those things like from political science, like the socio-political perspective on Indian society, and a lot of those kind of courses on Indian Constitution, for example, from the law perspective. So students, whatever you're going to do in your curriculum, you need to be exposed to these ideas. Yeah. And those are very important. So that I think so we consciously do that. And also like you rightly pointed out, like your own experience, you pointed out political science, for example. Political science, again, like, India kind of, or at least like Indian society kind of has a poor understanding of what the curriculum in political science involves. It's very analytical and logical subject. And it also involves a lot of huge data sets.
Correct.
Particularly, for example, conflict, for example.
Yes.
It's an important idea in political science, and you have huge data sets from the University of Michigan and so on and so forth. And these are huge data sets, and these data sets have to be analyzed. And you need ideas from computer science and artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. You also need ideas from networks, the social networks, an idea which is borrowed from sociology. And a lot of these things are applied across the different subject domains. So that, I think, is really essential. And as I said, one has to consciously develop that. So that, like, it's not so much at some level, you need to kind of ask yourself, learning and of course placement is important, not to discount it, is equally important for today's parents. Like, we don't know everybody's economic conditions, so some may need the job immediately. So that employability is certainly there. But like that, along with this first principles thinking, the way of analytical skills which you develop here, taking minors in different departments like computer science or business school or marketing, it could be finance, any of those kind of minors which you pick along with your own kind of commerce or whichever discipline which you have in mind. So I think that will probably help the students to explore more in their masters or in the pathway to their PhD programs. Correct. And also in the job market.
Correct.
So that's basically the idea. So that, like, this kind of integration and that more than the multidisciplinarity, the interdisciplinarity really helps in overcoming these kind of sometimes social biases.
Amidst a surge of Indian students going abroad, how do you see institutions like Vidyashilp becoming a compelling option to stay?
I've already, I think, listed quite a few things. Like, one important thing is often what we tend to underestimate is the location of the institution itself. So Vidyashilp University is located in Bangalore, and Bangalore itself is known for its kind of art, culture, and these kind of nuanced, what you call the social science disciplines to some extent among the other South Indian cities. So Bangalore is a lot more open to these ideas, and located in a place like Bangalore, which on the other side also gives students opportunities to tie up with IT industry, and given our focus mostly on kind of data science computation and the interlinkages among different subject domains, so they can get a lot of internships. And also, like, most of our committees involve people from industry who have PhD or who are really top in their domains. These are like vice presidents and presidents. So they are there in our committees, in many of our important committees, syllabus and so on and so forth, so that they keep us grounded in how it should be linked to the job market and so on and so forth, and also what the industry needs, so that, like, we keep track of that through these interactions. And the students also gain perspective through the internships, summer projects and so on and so forth, small research projects, and so that will help them understand the industry requirements and be open to the skill sets which they need. So those things are potentially we emphasize here. And also we have a strong international perspective. Apart from the summer mobility for students to international kind of summer schools and so on and so forth, we also kind of trying to explore finding pathways to one-year masters or one-year research masters programs in places like England and Europe and other places, and also PhD programs, like, so that directly after 4 years here you can go to these PhD programs. You get the kind of a special kind of admission policies for you. So those kind of things we are exploring. So there are, and also a lot of international scholars visit us regularly, and they spend time here, extended time. For example, We have one of the top philosophers from Netherlands, Professor Martin van Hees, is currently spending 2 months of his sabbatical time here with us. So we get many of these kind of international scholars passing through the university. And we are in the process of setting up certain international centers in art, design and innovation with various international artists and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of those outward looking policies which are being implemented at the university, and the university is always looking forward towards that. Yeah. So given all of this, where would you want to be? So when I go to Europe or US or any of those kind of countries, so one thing which or when my friends from any of the European countries come to India, the first thing which strikes them is the colors, right? So they are such a colorful country that you are, and you have so many multidimensional problems. Where will you learn?
Correct.
You will learn where there are multidimensional problems. So that's where you are going to develop those skill sets. Correct. So that's, I think, to me, it's very clear. Yeah. So you are as an aspiring undergraduate, India is a place to be with its political and economic stability now. I think we should value it a lot. Correct. Compared to a grey unidimensional countries outside. Yeah. So I think you are better off here.
That's really interesting, sir. But you mean to say that instead of looking abroad for exposure, students can stay here and learn from industry leaders and policymakers right here at the campus?
True.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah, they get to interact here in the university. As I said, there is a steady stream of people, all the top scholars and also the industry people keep visiting the different departments and giving special lectures. As I said, right, to root our curriculum in the real world, and also to expose us to the international practices and the international curriculum, whatever the new things which are coming in. So you are exposed to that through this constant interaction, both at the faculty level and at the student level.
So what kind of graduates do you hope Vidyashilp sends it to the real world? But not in terms of skills, but in terms of mindset.
Mindset, I would say the students who are curious about things around them and willing to kind of put their beliefs to the sword of reasoning, logical reasoning, and the ones who are willing to take risks with all those kind of leadership qualities and so on and so forth, and entrepreneurship. So those are the kind of under openness. All these things needs openness, and to some extent social consciousness. So those are the important attributes which I would instill in the students of Vidyashilp when they go out into the real world after graduation.
Wow, that's such a wonderful profile of a future leader, sir. And as a pioneer of the Indian education system, if you had to reimagine the Indian higher education system for the next 50 years, but not the last 50, what would it be?
I would take, though you said not the last 50, I would look, when I look at it like, I see excellence in let's say the top 5 IITs or top 3 IIMs of those days. So I will take that excellence and democratize that, and I will take it down to all the universities and all the private universities and new institutions which have come. That's what I would want to democratize, that excellence. And the other thing which I would aim for is like a kind of a 50-50 division between industry jobs and academic jobs in terms of student placements, and also in terms of university's portfolio, 50% time in research and 50% time in teaching. So that's kind of a balance is what I would aim for, and the corresponding dynamism which we need for these higher education institutions to grow exponentially. So that's what I would hope for.
Yes, so you're absolutely right. And I also believe that excellence cannot be developed in silos. Lastly, sir, before we wrap up, if there's anything you'd want the parents or the students who are watching this episode to walk away with, what would it be?
One thing which I really would emphasize is to see the forest among the trees, as I said before. And the second thing is I would urge the students and also the parents to allow this for the kids not to be sentenced to reality. What do they mean by not sentenced to reality? Dream big and design those dreams and implement them. So that's what I would tell them.
That's a great insight, sir. Thank you so much for being on the show, sir. It was really an honor to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, if today's episode taught us anything, it's that the future of education in India doesn't lie in cracking entrance exams and chasing the foreign degrees. It lies in the institutions which provide rigor with relevance, local roots with global wings. And Vidyashilp University seems to be doing just that. Thanks once again, Professor Babu, to be here on the show. And if you want to know more about Vidyashilp University, feel free to check out the links given in the show notes. Until then, keep learning, keep dreaming, and keep aiming high. This is Kritin, your host, signing off.